Welcome everyone to another episode of the Fighter and the Analyst. I'm your host, GK The Fight Analyst, and this here is my man, the Joker himself, Peter Petties. What's up, bro? How's it going?
Chilling. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Fight Day is among us once again. Before we get into that, this podcast is sponsored by Manscaped, our awesome sponsor. Guys, you know what it is. It's summertime. You need to get that junk, keep that shit going. Keep it fresh and groomed. Head over to Manscaped. Get some of the best grooming products for us guys. Use promo code TFTA20 for 20% off and free shipping. With that said, what's going on, bro? How's it going down here? How's your training going? What's new in the MMA world?
It's been good, honestly. Another week that I'm alive and relatively bruise free.
There you go.
I feel like that's always a plus when you're at a gym. Like how I've been these past few weeks. Been a good week. Past week, a lot of drilling, did a lot of sparring. Got some good rounds in with some guys. Seeing some of Gilbert's training camp from behind the scenes. And it's been a good week. It's been nice to just get the sun rays, get the training going, get a sweat going. It's nice. Unfortunately, I got one more week, and then we'll see how things are going on in July. But outside of that, I'm just enjoying it day by day, and trying to take it all in.
That's great, bro. Getting back in shape, getting back into the swing of things, and learning while you're at it, which is also great. But like you said Gilbert's training there. Are they both training at the same time? I'm assuming they're taking someone's training on one time and someone's training the other time, right?
I mean, I don't want to say too much. I mean, I don't know the whole dynamics. I know right now I've seen Gilbert more than I've seen Kamaru, but also I know there's rumors that Kamaru is somewhere else. But like I said, I don't want to say too much, being not in. You know what I
No,
mean?
I feel you. I feel you.
This
I'm
is for when
just
the
trying to get
cameras
some.
are off.
Just trying to get some insight there. I feel you. I feel you. No,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, honestly, I've just been really focused on my personal stuff, training, getting back to the game, and just enjoying every day. It's one of those things where, at the end of the day, we all always have to remember we're still in a pandemic. So any day you can
Yeah,
count your blessing, you got to be happy with that. So
that's true. Very very true. Have you learned a lot since you've been down here in the last like 3 weeks or so?
yeah, the biggest thing that I would say, and I was talking to a friend about, training environment and everything. The biggest thing I will say is it's the little nuances that have been making a big impact. So, like, I guess the best explain it. There's Greg Jones down here, who's a three-time NCAA champion wrestling. And
Yeah.
there's little things. I used to be, hard ages ago. I used to be a high level, a decent wrestler. I was decent high school. I did 1 year of college wrestling at Division II level before deciding I wanted to punch people in the face. But I used to mix up my game a lot more before I started knocking people out. And then I became labeled a striker. So, honestly, I think just being in that environment, and wrestling is almost like riding a bike. So it's like if you ever get away from it, the fact that I have over 100 wins. I have over like 300 like not collegiate, but um, wrestling matches when I combine Greco, freestyle, and folk style. So it's like riding a bike. It's like, man, I used to do that. But if you don't train it, it's one of those things that it just gets lost in translation type of thing. So, it's been good to really wake up my wrestling and really get back to it. Even outside of that, what's his name is down here? Tyrone Spong, and it's
Oh
a
yeah.
war.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's like they're striking, and then there's like high level strike. And so it's like even Tyrone Spong, he was teaching some of the things. And it's very interesting just to see the intricacies. And what I mean by that is just even the footwork behind things. And we have some balance drills we've been doing. And I'm like, damn, this makes a lot of sense. So it's I wouldn't even say it's the small thing. I wouldn't say it's the big things, the big technique. It's really just the small things that are like bridging a gap where I'm like, shit, this all makes sense, you know?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great that you're learning from some of the best down here. Like you said, Greg Jones, Taron Sprong,
Yeah.
Henry Hooft, and then you got a bunch of
Mhm.
killers to drill with on top of it that know all everything that you're learning. So that's awesome. I mean, I hope you come down here again and get more work in before your next fight. Whenever that is. Hopefully, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
I'm just taking it day by day, man. I mean, the biggest thing I tell people is, as we were talking earlier, is first I want to shrink, get back to average size of where I was, and then, just see where life is. The biggest thing I always like to put in perspective of MMA is you got to look at it with your cards. You got to look at the cards you're dealt. So a lot of times I like to equivalate it to I want to play with the best hand possible. And what that means is MMA is one of those sports where you're a 1099 contractor, as Dana White says. So you have to really make your situation work for you. You have to make whatever you're doing work for you. So, my biggest thing is making sure life works for me. And, the
Yeah.
biggest thing with MMA is, you see all the people talking out about money now. And I do it for the love of it. If it was all about money, then I would have then stopped,
Yeah.
but also at the end of the day, you have to make training revolve around how you can work your life. Luckily, I'm luckily enough to work remotely, so I can pick up and go wherever I want to go. But just I'm just thinking some life situations too, and seeing how I want to approach my comeback. You know.
Yeah, definitely, bro. There's always a lot to think about when approaching fighting, different mindset, and all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't know much about it. That's why you're here. You're the fighter. You give us all the insight into the actual MMA world, which is great, and I love that a lot. So I appreciate you always coming on here and giving us all that insight that you got for us. But yeah, let's dive deep into this fight card. It's a phenomenal fight card. Like top to bottom, I think this is a great fight card. I think it's a lot better than last week's, but last week's actually didn't really disappoint. We really thought we are gonna have a shitty fight card, but first three fights ended in less than a minute and a half, which is
Mhm.
insane. So. The small cage definitely played a major part and has been playing a major part in a lot of these fights, and I don't think it's going to stop here. But yeah, let's dive into it. Starting on the preliminary cards, one of my favorite fights on the card because I'm very very excited to see this new fighter come into the UFC, and that's a fight between Max Roshkov and Austin Hubbard. Right now, Roshkov is a minus 190 favorite, and the comeback on Austin Hubbard is a plus 165 underdog. Who do you got in this one, man?
I'm going all in on Max. And what it is I didn't know much about him about a year or two ago. We're managed by the same people, so they post. So I clicked and started just looking up the guy, and man, he has the credentials, he has the wrestling credentials, he has the jiu-jitsu credentials out there
Yeah.
with Robert Drysdale. He's training and striking with Dewey Stewart out there in Vegas. So he's doing all the right things, and he's 5-0. I think he was originally slated to be on the contender this season,
Yep.
but he got an
Hmm.
early call. And not to mention, I follow him on Instagram. You could tell he was already training for a fight prior to getting called up for this fight.
Yeah.
And not Austin Hubbard, but I just don't think Austin Hubbard is as skilled as he is in any of those dimensions. So I think the odds are right in the favor. I think they should be a little bit higher for Max, but I'm going all in on him. I think I'm going to parlay him with a later piece once we get to it. But yeah, I'm all in on Max.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I'm super super excited to see him fight. Like if you're 5-0 and you hit the UFC, you're a super prospect.
Mhm.
Deron Win is another case. He was high level wrestler. He got the call up because of super prospect, and Max is right around in the same ballpark. He's huge for the division. He's not one of these small stocky wrestlers. He's a monster. He's 6'1"
Mhm.
and he's fighting at 155 pounds. So he's not a small dude. So he's one of the taller lightweights with such a a massive wrestling background. You know, two-time All-American at NC State. You know, he's been competing in a bunch of jiu-jitsu tournaments as well. So his grappling is top notch. 5-0, all 5 wins by submission. Only one fight has gotten out of the first round. And we've seen time and time again that Hubbard cannot defend takedowns. He does well at defending the submissions, but he does not do well at defending takedowns. And I think Max is going to absolutely take him down at will. And I think he's more of a submission threat than those he's fought like Davi Ramos. I know Ramos is a high-level jiu-jitsu black belt, but he doesn't always hunt for the submissions. He's not very active in getting the submissions. Max, right off the bat, he's going for a submission. He's going for a choke. I think all of his wins are by choke, if I'm not mistaken. So he's very, very active once he gets on the mat. His transitions are great. I've seen some crazy wrist control when he was wrestling, some of his wrestling videos. So it's just like he just knows this stuff. It's just bred into him. He's been doing this for so long. And, hats off to Hubbard for even taking this fight on short notice, because this is not a fight you want to take on short notice. I mean, granted, I know he was in a longer camp, but he was going against a guy that wasn't going to just wrestle fuck him the entire time. I know Joe Selecki, he's a jiu-jitsu fighter and he was a wrestler as well, but he's nowhere near the level of Roshkov, like at all. And, Hubbard's been fighting killers, Mark Madsen, Davi Ramos, and now Max, all killers. So sucks for him. But at the end of the day, I'm rolling with Roshkov here. I think he gets a first round submission. I'm taking him by submission at plus 180. I can't fathom that he's just gonna, just wrestle him to death for 15 minutes. Is it possible? Yeah, but I'd rather take the submission prop at plus 180. That's just crazy talk that you're giving us plus 180 on submission, a guy that has all wins by submission. So yeah, I'm taking Roshkov. I think he rolls here, and then he puts a stamp and puts his name out there showing that he's the real deal and he's going to be here for a while. Next up in the women's flyweight division, we have a fight between Roxanne Modafferi and Lauren Murphy. Right now, Modafferi is a minus 115 favorite, and the comeback on Murphy is a minus 105. So it's about a pick'em fight here. Who do you see this? How do you see this going? Who do you got winning?
I'm going with my girl Roxanne. It's one of those. I think she's one of those chicks that you've seen since she's a pioneer. But if you look at her fights recently, outside of even Macy Barber getting injured, I think even before that, she has just been on a tear. And what it is just her growth throughout the sport. I don't know if it's just her ring time, her MMA time, just finally catching up where she's understanding it on a better level. But no, I'm leaning towards Roxanne on this heavy.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Murphy a little bit. I just feel if she's able to keep the fight on the feet, she's going to outwork Roxanne. Roxanne doesn't normally have the best takedown offense. She's only she's landing only 21% of her takedowns. And more. Granted, Murphy. I think Murphy lost her last fight against Lee, but she did do well from what I've seen in the striking. Her striking looked kind of good, and she moves forward. She puts a lot of pressure and throws a lot of volume. It's not a fight that I really want to go heavy on either side. I think your best bet and best strategy to bet on this fight is bet either girl by decision. I think this fight is sailing over 2.5 rounds. I don't see Murphy getting finished by submission, and I just feel it's going to be just a back and forth fight, maybe a lot of grappling up against the cage, clinch work, and I would take if you're going to take either one of these, I'd say the decision prop will give you better odds, plus money on both sides. Take your pick. If you like Roxanne, take that plus money on the decision prop. But yeah, I'm not going really too heavy on this one. Moving on in the lightweight division, we have a fight between Frank Camacho and the short notice debut of Justin James, who is a coach at Extreme Couture out in Vegas, where Frank Camacho is currently training as well. right now, Camacho is a minus 325 favorite, and the comeback on Justin James is a plus 265 underdog. Do you know anything about this man, Justin James, and who do you got winning?
It's funny. I didn't even realize he was training at Extreme Couture. I thought he was with Oyama. I know Frank from
No, I
back in the
mean
day.
he's training with Oyama, but since all these guys from Oyama has been at the Apex, they're just been
Hmm.
doing their training over at Extreme Couture for the last like 2-3 weeks. So that means
That makes
I'm
sense.
assuming they've been seeing each other kind of training.
Yeah, it's funny because I know Frank back in the day. Frank was an old school Lloyd Irvin guy, so I sparred him when I was coming up. And I am honestly, I'm going with the upset on this one. And
Really?
the reason behind it is when I looked up Justin Janis, did my little research a little bit, and I saw he had a fight in May. He's been training, being at Extreme Couture. And the way I look at it is, sometimes opportunity, preparation meets the right opportunity. And he fought just in May. Right now we're at June 20th. He fought in May. I'll say that again. you know. So when I look at that, when I look at all his first round finishes, I mean, for a plus 250, it is not a bad play. So I am leaning towards. I'm gonna mess around and play Justin Janis on this one.
I mean, in a gambling perspective, that's not a bad bet. Essentially, like you said, he fought recently. He's in shape. Camacho lost, didn't make weight. He was 3.5 pounds over the limit. Uh, I just can't pick against him. 48 hours notice. I think this is a massive step up in competition as well. I don't think he fought anybody remotely good on the regional scene, at least as good as Camacho. And I didn't see anything that thinks that Janice is going to just take him down and at will, because I don't think he's going to want to stand and bang in a brawl with Camacho at all. I mean,
I agree.
Camacho is, he's 3 inches taller. He's got a 5.5 inch reach advantage, and he throws massive output, 14.52 strikes per minute. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a firefight. And from what I've seen, Justin Janice is definitely a tough dude. I think it's just going to be an all-out firefight forever, for however long it lasts. It's going to be a good one. I don't like the juice on Camacho at all. Minus 325 is just absurd. I'm putting him in all of my DraftKings lineups, but I am definitely staying clear from betting perspective. It's just too much juice on Camacho, unfortunately. But yeah, moving on in the women's flyweight division is I think this is a very underrated fight between Jillian Robertson and Courtney Casey. Robertson is a minus 115 favorite, and the comeback on Casey is a minus 105. Pick'em fight. Who do you got in this one, man?
And it's a little tough, but I'm leaning towards Jillian Robertson. And I'm like, she's just one of those chicks. She's a tough girl. She seems like she's constantly improving.
Yes.
Her thing. She's training with Dean Thomas down there. Dean Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's going to be very takedown heavy and very put a lot of output out there and mix in her takedowns to a decision win. So I'm leaning towards her on this one.
I'm 110% with you, man. I just, from what I've seen, I like what Jillian. She's young. She's 25. She's always looking to improve. She just wants to get in there and fight. I love that about her. She, from when I saw against Veronica Macedo, who has about the same defensive grappling deficiencies that Courtney Casey has. She was able to go in and attempt 6 takedowns over 7.5 minutes. If she does that, I think she wins 2 rounds easily against Casey. Casey only defends 39% of her takedowns. She gets taken down at will. She got taken down against a ton of girls that can't really do takedowns, like Jessica Aguilar, Felice Herrig, Michelle Waterson. You talk about girls that are 4 inches shorter than her, and stuff like that. And I just think people are completely overrating the striking of Courtney Casey. She throws a ton of output, but she's only landing 38% of her strikes. And on top of it, she's getting hit 4.63 times per minute. So essentially, she's taking one to land one. She's not outstriking her opponents. Her opponents are outstriking her by 8%. And I know people are like, oh, Jillian Robertson striking is trash, this and that. But it's really not that bad because it's just low volume. She gets in there, she takes a couple punches, but then she's going for takedowns. That's why it's low volume. But from what I've seen on her Instagram, she's just been working on the striking, and I like that a lot. And I just think these two fighters are completely different spectrums of their fighting and lifestyle right now. From what I've seen, Jillian looks like she's working hard to improve, while Courtney Casey's looking like she wants to be a soccer mom. So I'm all in Jillian, riding her all the way to the bank of cash, and I'm big on her. I think she can finish her, man. I know Casey's a black belt, but Jillian's a fireball, and she can snatch your neck at any given time. So yeah, I'm all in on Jillian Robertson as well. Next up in the middleweight division, we have a fight between Mark Andre Barot, I can't say his last name, and Oscar Pijota. Right now, it's a complete pick'em fight. Man, very hard fight to pick. Who do you got in this one?
I don't really know either one, honestly. So I'm gonna pass on this one.
Yeah, I can't really give too much of a betting. If anyone asks me if they want to bet on this fight, I tell them do not bet on this fight. I cannot get a clear indication of who's worse between these two. They're both on 3-fight losing streaks, if I'm not mistaken. Their stats are completely almost the same across the board. I can't pick anything. I know Pajota has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but there's levels between black belts, and I don't know how high of a level of that black belt really is. It's a complete stay away fight for me. I don't want to bet the over under. I don't want to bet on either side. I'm just sailing through. This is one of the fights that I'm gonna go grab a beer or make some food. It's not. Not want any action on this. Moving on in the women's strawweight division, we have a fight between Tisha Torres and Brianna Van Buren. Right now, Van Buren's a minus 225 favorite, and the comeback on Tisha Torres is a plus 185 underdog. How do you see this one playing out?
I've always been a fan of Tisha Torres, of her speed and output. I watched a few of Brianna's fights, and I'm like, man, this girl is good. She's aggressive. You don't typically see girls fight the way she fights. So, watching it, I'm leaning towards Brianna on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you as well, and it's crazy because she is one of the, if not the shortest flyweight. Strawweight in the entire division, at 5 foot flat. So she's one of the smallest girls, but man, she's feisty. She comes in, throws a ton of volume. She's actually a pretty good wrestler as well. Good top control, good submissions. I don't see a finish here because Tisha Torres has fought like Jessica Andrade, Zhang, and Joanna. So I don't see a finish here. But yeah, I definitely like Van Buren to win. I'm gonna cut that juice down and take Van Buren by decision at minus 150. I think that definitely helps a lot, and I think she's parlayable. I think she just runs away with it, and Van Buren I think is she's like on the up and up, and Tisha Torres is kind of just flatlining right now, and she's just kind of being complacent. I haven't seen her really pick up her game. Well, Van Buren is still new, and she's still improving, and she's only going to get better. So yeah, I'm definitely on Van Buren here. Next up in the featherweight division, I believe, or lightweight division, in a fight between Clay Guida and Bobby Green. Right now, Bobby Green is a heavy minus 250 favorite, and the comeback on Clay Guida is a plus 210 underdog. What you got in this one?
Oh man, this is a tough fight. And it's funny because I'm like, half of me wants to know which Clay Guida is going to show up, and I don't think Bobby Green's the cleanest striker. I don't think he's coming off. I think he fought someone recently. I can't quite remember who it was. But
there was, yeah, you're right.
Let me see, who did he fight? I can look it up.
He fought Trinaldo and Jakar Close, who I think he beat both of them, but he was on the losing end of both decisions, which is asinine in my opinion.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is I just don't think he should be that big of a favorite. So I'm getting enticed by the plus 250 on Guida. because I could see Guida just throwing crappy punches and shooting in and just staying active and making it an ugly fight, and Bobby Green
It's
getting a
true.
little complacent and landing some strikes, but it not being enough. And Guida winning an ugly split or something like
Oh,
that,
that'd be horrible.
So, if I had to play, I would play Guida, but I would not play Bobby. So it's a pick 'em for me. It's one of those things that if you're feeling a little adventurous, you can play Guida. If not, I do not trust two minus 250 on Bobby Green.
I think this line is pretty much saying, yeah, we don't give Guida a chance against pretty much anybody. That's pretty much what it's saying. That's why they're giving Green a minus 250 price tag. They just don't. They don't trust Guida to ever get a win. I mean, and rightfully so. His last two wins were BJ Penn and Joe Lozon, who both are over the hill and aren't even in the USC anymore. So
Chill on is cut?
yes,
I didn't know that.
huh?
Chill on isn't in the UFC no more?
I don't. I at least I don't think so. He hasn't fought in years.
No, he just beat one of the
Didn't he?
dudes. Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I forgot
he's
he did. He beat one of those contender series dudes.
yeah,
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 you're
he
right.
just beat in Boston. I was like, oh, I don't remember Joe Lozon.
Oh, okay. My bad, my bad. He beat an over the hill Joe Lozon and an over the hill BJ Penn. My bad. Who BJ Penn's not there anymore though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, uh, I don't want to take Green on minus 250. I'm personally going to take Green by decision. Seven of his last 8 fights have gone to a decision, and I think he should be able to win a decision if it gets there. I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't think Guido's going to be able to take him down and keep him there, even if he does. And Bobby Green throws much more volume. He lands twice the amount of strikes, and he throws over 3 more strikes per minute as well. He's going to be busy on there. Hopefully, he doesn't get screwed again in another decision because this man loves to get screwed on decisions. He definitely beat Drakkar close. It was even close, pun intended. And he beat Ronaldo too, very soundly. So it's just hard, but I'm taking plus 170 on a decision prop. I think that's the only way you can bet this man. I just don't think he has enough power to put out Guida, who's only been finished twice in his UFC career. So, I mean, it's been a while since he's been finished too. So, at least due to strikes. But yeah, I'm all over. I'm not all over Green, but if I had to pick, I would take Green in this spot. Next up it's actually a catch weight of 160 pounds between Jim Miller and Roosevelt Roberts. Roberts is a minus 250 favorite. Come back on Jim Miller is a plus 210 underdog. How do you see this one playing out?
This one's a tough one too. I know Roosevelt is long at 55. He's a surgeon, lightweight. However, I feel like Jim Miller's one of those guys who you never know which Jim Miller's going to show up. Is
Yeah,
he going
it's true.
are you going to get the Jim Miller who's going to guillotine him in the first round or heel hook him, or are you
Mhm.
going to get the Jim Miller that's going to walk right into a straight right and get finished? So it's like, man, it's really a tough fight to take. Um, I'm sitting on this one. I think it's going to be a great fight, and I can see it going either way, honestly.
Yeah, I don't like the price tag on Roberts. Minus 250 is just a little too much, but I just don't see out of the first round. I think Miller drops off immensely. And you were talking about Miller, 38 years old Miller. He didn't look good against Scott Holtzman, okay? And he had a full camp. Now he's taking this fight on 2 weeks' notice after quarantine in New Jersey, where quarantine pretty much shut down the entire state. And now he has to fight against a guy that just fought. He's been in shape. He's been fighting. And
Mm-hmm.
he's younger, much younger, fresher. And he looked in great shape, Roberts. Miller didn't look in great shape. At least my eyes, he didn't look like he was in great shape. But yeah, it's definitely a tough one. I don't want to take Roberts minus 250. I put a small play on him by decision plus 190, plus 200. But that's the only way I could see this fight going. Maybe parlay Roberts with like Curtis Blades for minus 133. It's not that bad. But yeah, this is not a fight that I really want to go all in on. I see a lot of people on Miller just because, you know, he's a vet. He's going to bring the fight to Roberts. Roberts does give up takedowns, but he doesn't get finished. He gets, normally gets right back up. And I just think he's the younger, fresher fighter, and he should get the W here. This is a great fight coming up in the men's welterweight division. We have a fight between Lyman Good and Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad is a minus 120 favorite, and the comeback on Good is a plus 100 underdog. How do you see this one going?
Man, this is probably one of the biggest sleeper fights on the whole card.
Yeah, it is.
And they're both just gamers. Bilal's one of those guys who I watched coming up and fought on the same card as him in Titan. And he's just a game bred guy. He comes in, he's gonna throw his volume, he's gonna go for his takedowns, and he's gonna look to finish. But Lyman Good is one of those, physical specimens that's been around. He comes from a decent school in Tiger Showman. It is a tough fight. If I had to lean, I'm leaning towards Bilal Muhammad, but that's by a little bit. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Bilal.
This is an extremely, extremely hard fight to gauge who's going to win. It's extremely close, 50-50 across the board. I'm not giving this play out as a bet. I tell people this is a fight to really just watch as a fan. It's very hard. It's very close. Good's got power for days. He can knock Bilal Muhammad out, but Muhammad also has gone the distance with Jeff Neal. A lot of people who weren't able to do that. He's one of the only ones who's able to do that. So, he's got a chin on him. He's got some good wrestling. He's got some good striking. Man, it's really, really hard fight. But if I had to choose, I would take Muhammad as well. I just think he's the more well-rounded fighter. He can mix in the takedowns, and his striking is good as well. So, yeah, I'm going with Muhammad, not betting him. Going to sit this one out, watch it, and just be a great fight. Next up in the women's bantamweight division, we have a fight between Raquel Pennington and Marion Renault. Right now, Pennington's a minus 190 favorite, and the comeback on Renault is a plus, I think, 160 underdog. How do you see this one going, man?
I don't know enough about Marion Renault to really bet on it. I can say Raquel, I just haven't been impressed with her recently. So, for this one, I'm sitting on it.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I'm not touching this fight. If I had to choose, I would go with Pennington just solely based on the fact that she's fought the far better competition. I mean, she just fought Holly Holm. She fought Amanda Nunes, stuff like that. But minus 190 is just asinine. There's no way anybody should be betting Pennington at minus 190. That's just ridiculous. Kudos to you if you bet it and win it, but no, you should not. No, that's just crazy. But yeah, this is definitely a pass for me. I don't want anything to do with this fight. Gonna be making some more food because I'm gonna be hungry throughout this damn fight card. But yeah, moving on. And I think one of the best fights on this card, the co-main event between Josh Emmett and Shane Burgos in the featherweight division. Right now, Burgos is a minus 145 favorite, and the comeback on Emmett is a plus 125 underdog. How you see this one going, man?
Man, this is a tough fight to pick. I think they're both surgeon featherweights. They both have their games that they're going to look to implement. I know Burgos is a huge 45er sitting at like 5'11".
Yeah, it's
Josh
crazy.
Emmett is a short 45er sitting at 5'6". So,
Yep.
I think it's going to come down to can Shane establish a striking distance, keep Emmett at bay, keep that jab out there, and just control the fight. Whether that means just leaving the jab out there, keeping him from getting closing the range with those overhands, as well as going for the takedown. It's tough. It is tough. I mean, I think Emmett has fought the tougher competition in the UFC. But I do think if we look at size-wise and just what's the word I'm looking for? Can't find a word. But if we just look at size-wise and things that you can't coach from being 5'11", if he uses his strikes, he is good striking and keeps that jab out there and just does it all 3 rounds. I could see Burgos cruising to a easy decision. But like I said, I mean, Michael Johnson was what 30 seconds away from a victory before he ate that
Mm-hmm.
overhand. And I think time and time again, Emmett showed you had power. I think he knocked down Beshchek with a jab or something and finished him. It was like a power jab that he walked into. So he showed he packs a punch, and he's a wrestler coming from Alpha Male. They've been training with Andre Feely, who just fought last week or the week before. So
Yeah.
it's a tough fight. It's another one of those coin flips. If you want to do a parlay, you can play both sides. I'm gonna sit back. I don't even know who to pick on this fight, honestly. But I can see Burgos winning decision, and I can see Emmett getting a knockout. I can see
KO.
anything
Yeah.
happening. I can
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm I'm me personally. I'm all over Shane Burgos. I just think he has what it takes to beat Emmett. He's got the pressure. He's got he's gonna put the pressure on. He throws over 14 strikes per minute, lands 7.09, which is the most in featherweight history per minute. And from what I've seen with Emmett, after the first round, he slows down drastically. If you watch the Michael Johnson fight, he was throwing 40, 50 strikes in the first round. He dropped from that all the way down to only 18 strikes in the second round. And then between the second and third round, he threw about 30 strikes combined. So he drops off immensely. And I think he is KO or bust, essentially. But the thing is with Burgos, he's just gonna keep coming forward. If Michael Johnson did that and he had that kind of volume, he would have won convincingly, and he probably could have put him away because he was hittable. And what Burgos does well, he throws a lot of straight punches. And from what I've seen, Emmett gets hit a ton with jabs and jab straights, and that's what Michael Johnson was essentially doing to him, but at a much lower volume. I think Burgos just has this all day. What I'm doing is I'm betting Burgos and I'm hedging on Emmett by KO at plus 250. Just like I'm going high here and just one unit here just to cut my losses, and God forbid that happens. But I think that's the best way to bet this fight. I love Burgos. I think he's on the up and up. He's only lost to Calvin Cater. So that's a top level fighter right there. So I think he's going to really cement himself as, a legit fighter at 145 pounds if he's able to beat Emmett here. And this is going to be a phenomenal fight, and I cannot wait for it. With that said, up next in the main event of the evening, we have a fight between Curtis Razor Blades and Alexander Volkov. Blades is the massive, massive 430 favorite, and the comeback on Volkov is a plus 345 underdog. Can Volkov pull this one out of his ass?
I'm leaning towards Blades, man. I mean, he gave up the whole game plan in his little interview. I think he said, if you really expect this to be an entertaining match, don't tune in. He said he's going to take him down. And I think that's what everybody expected, him to take him down and beat him up for 5 rounds and probably cruise to a finish, or if not, at a 5-round decision. So leaning towards Curtis Blades, man.
Yeah, I don't think you could take Volkov. I know, it's enticing, being a gambler and everybody wants to, hit high on these crazy money lines, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a heavyweight fight. Anything could happen. Really put some money on it. I don't see Volkov. Volkov doesn't have the power to take out Blades. He doesn't have. If you're not Francis Ngannou, you're not knocking out Blades. It's just not. It's not going to happen. He's got good defense. He's got great wrestling, arguably the best in the entire heavyweight division. He's attempting over 12 takedowns per 15 minutes and landing half of those. So, and I think he has a bunch of records when it comes to takedowns and, top control in the heavyweight division as well. It's just, yeah, I think Blades absolutely rolls here. Crazy line here. I actually took Blades by submission at plus 1,300. I know he hasn't had a submission since his amateur days, but if he's just taking him down, softens him up, maybe he gives up his neck. Who knows? I don't know. It could happen. Not likely, but yeah, I'm all over Blades here. I sprinkled a little bit by decision as well. I think it's plus 386. Maybe he just takes him down and just cruises to a decision like you said. And I think it's going to be fairly competitive. It's going to show that Blades really deserves a title shot very soon. Maybe both Stipe and DC kind of step away and let Francis Ngannou and Blades just duke it out for that title. Who knows? But yeah, we kind of went through this pretty fast because there was a lot of a lot of fights. You're kind of just like, yeah, this is it. This is the winner. That was that kind of this is that kind of night. But yeah, this is a freaking great fight card, and I can't wait for it. We're gonna cash these bets. Before we go, what would you give out as like your best bet, maybe your best parlay of this fight card?
Give me 1 second. Let me just review and see what we're looking at. So, if I had, and something that I'm probably going to play is, I am going with Max Rosecroft and Jillian Robertson. And if you're feeling a little good, you can add Brianna Van Buren if you're feeling good. But I think I'm leaning towards just Max and Jillian for the win.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Mine would probably be Max Roshkov as well by submission plus 180. Jillian Robertson, and I'm also taking Van Buren by decision minus 150. I think those are all pretty solid, all decent lines as well, and a lot of money to be made. With that said, guys, if you want the full fight card, head over to thefighteranalyst.com. Get our package, only $25. We give you out DFS lineups. We give you out all the plays. We're up immensely the last 3 weeks. We've been absolutely killing it, guys. We're hitting 58% of our plays. That's over 26 plays. Most of these MMA cappers are giving out 1 to 3 plays. Now we give out at least 8 to 10 plays to play throughout the entire card. We're up over 12 units in the last 3 weeks. That's a 26% ROI as well. We've been absolutely smashing it. We're just over 7 units away from a 20-unit month. That's 20 units in 1 month. Most of these cappers out there are getting 20 units in a single year. Yet we do that in 1 month. With that said, where can everybody find you, my man, on the social media?
Follow me at Why So Serious MMA on Twitter and Instagram, or friend request me at Peter Petties.
All right, guys, you know where to find me. Fight Analyst on Twitter, The Fight Analyst on Instagram and Facebook. If you guys need any advice, hit me up. Get my packages. Let's get this money. We will be back next week. Also, before we go to Manscaped. Support this podcast, guys. Get some of that stuff, even some body wash, whatever. Help us out. Promo code TFTA20, 20% off and free shipping. With that said, we're out. We will see you next week. You guys have a great one. Have a great week.